Nestled high up in the foothills of the magnificent Himalayan mountain ranges, near a small village called Naddi, is a most wonderful school attended by children from around the world. The International Sahaj Public School is surrounded by dense forest and snow-capped mountains, some of which are separated by dramatic cliffs and fast-flowing rivers. Not surprisingly, student life is filled with magical adventure, and the following story is but one short example. One perfect Sunday morning in October, a group of 20 Class 7 students went on an excursion to a nearby river called Bal. They were led by a softly spoken history teacher called Miss Madhu and a stern geography teacher called Sir Arun. The walk to the river was always beautiful. The excursion started that morning with the students bustling out of the school gates, chattering and laughing. Initially, they crossed the paved paths of a local village as the goats, buffaloes, and cows gazed on with large, gentle eyes. The sun's rays warmed their backs as they walked, and the tall deodar trees swayed gently in the cool Himalayan breeze. As they walked, the village scenery was replaced by the rocky wilderness of the mountains. Miss Madhu led the way and advised, "Please follow me in a line, so you don't get lost or left behind." Sir Arun walked at the end of the line, trying to monitor the students ahead of him. They made their way along an uneven dirt track that narrowed and snaked around the giant mountain, which itself sloped sharply down to the river below. Two of the girls were in a mood to be silly, and they straddled behind the walking line, giggling and making fun of anything and everything. "Pragya, Shanti," Sir Arun repeatedly scolded them. "Stop being so childish and pick up your pace." But they were not to be deterred from their silliness so easily. Sir Arun continued to aim disapproving looks at them and grumble frequently, all without effect. The group reached the river without mishap, where they splashed and played in the icy mountain water and enjoyed a delightful picnic. By the time the teachers began to prepare the children for the return trip, several hours had passed and it was nearly 4 in the afternoon. The clouds began to cover the sun, leaving a chill in the breeze. Pragya and Shanti loved being in the mountains and still could not contain their excitement. Being 12 years old, they felt grown up enough to explore on their own. They certainly didn't want Sir Arun constantly scolding them from the back of the line. So as the group began its ascent back up the path, the girls secretly hatched what they thought would be a brilliant plan. This time, instead of lagging behind, Pragya and Shanti sped up to the front of the line, far from Sir Arun's watchful eyes and just behind the unsuspecting Miss Madhu. Then, as the noise and chaos of the children escalated, they quietly sneaked off the track and went up the steep mountain slope, finally hiding in a spot covered by thick bushes and trees. The girls hid there until the entire group, including Sir Arun, disappeared around the blind curve of the mountain. How they giggled and congratulated themselves on their cleverness in outwitting their teachers. Hopping around like two merry birds, they were finally free to embark on any adventure. They strode onward and pretended to face some invisible enemy whilst mimicking the brave heroes of the Lord of the Rings. Suddenly, a strange noise distracted Shanti, who quickly turned and became agitated. "Did you hear a grunt?" Her voice trembled. "No, it must be your imagination," Pragya speculated. By this time, the girls were back on the track where they could see the long line of children with Sir Arun some distance ahead. Grunt, huff. The noise came from near the group. Suddenly, they saw something very big running quickly towards the group. Miss Madhu and Sir Arun pulled the children out of the way, just in time to avoid it. A large and very angry bull. The bull ran past the group and continued down the path towards the girls, who panicked. They scanned for a nearby tree to climb. The branches were too high, they couldn't get a foothold. Time seemed to slow as they looked for other escape options. Pragya scrambled to the cliffside of the path, peering over the edge. She thought about slipping under the barbed wire only meters below to get out of the way. But the ground was too slippery, and rolling down the steep slope would have been more dangerous than facing that bull. Just in time, Shanti spotted and ran towards a shallow cave on the mountainside of the path. "Come here quickly, Pragya," she yelled. The girls squeezed tightly against the cave wall, scrambling to find purchase with their hands and feet. "It's probably harmless, just like those cows we passed in the village," Pragya said somewhat unconvincingly, as she attempted to reassure Shanti as well as herself. Pragya, who was a fast runner, suggested, "Why don't we make a run for it?" But Shanti had seen how fast the bull ran and didn't like her chances of outrunning it. "You know I can't run that fast. Besides, I have a red backpack," she whispered. Shanti pictured herself running with the bull hot on her trail. That red backpack, like a big bullseye stuck on her back, further enraging him. And, with that mental image, she completely dismissed any further thought of such an escape. The girls huddled even closer, shoulder to shoulder, as their bad situation got worse. The bull turned from side on to front on and pointed its sharp horns directly at them, inching closer. It must have been 3 feet away now, and they could see its flaring nostrils and wide, angry eyes glaring back at them. The shallow cave offered little protection against the determined bull. "That is the meanest looking bull I have ever seen," Pragya exclaimed, horrified. The girls couldn't understand why the bull was there, and when they hadn't even provoked it, their imagination started to run wild with nightmarish images of Spanish bulls charging people, and they couldn't avoid glancing again at the bull's very sharp horns. They kept still, difficult as it was, gripping tightly to the crumbling earth, rocks, and tree roots to avoid slowly slipping or falling at the bull's feet. The thought of being trampled or even kicked by that bull was as unpleasant as being skewered by its sharp horns. They started to whisper heartfelt prayers. "Jai Shrimataji, we promise to be good, Shrimataji. Please, Shrimataji, we will be obedient and listen to our teachers next time." "We'll be fine," Pragya assured. "It's just watching us. Nothing will happen." But immediately after saying that, the bull lifted its front leg and began to paw the earth, creating a mushroom-shaped dust cloud. Its mean eyes seemed to pierce their little souls. "Really?" squealed Shanti. "Because to me, it looks like it's getting ready to charge." More desperate pleas to Shrimataji followed from their lips and hearts. Then something happened. The bull stopped. And seemingly without reason, it just turned and ran off further down the path. Relieved beyond measure, the girls loosened their sweaty grip on the crumbling cave wall and slipped boneless to the ground. With shaky legs, they thanked Shrimataji for saving them. With hands pressed against their hearts as if to soothe the pounding, the girls quickly ran to Sir Arun, who was now furiously making his way towards them. He must have seen the bull stop and realized that the girls were missing. When the girls reached Sir Arun, he berated them and threatened to send a report to the school principal for sneaking away like that. But despite all Sir Arun's fury, the girls smiled and felt comforted by his words. They had both now learnt an important lesson to never again ignore the good advice of their elders and teachers. Perhaps the bull appeared for precisely that purpose. We will never know for sure. However, we do know Pragya and Shanti never forgot the lesson they learned that day.